So a bit of information about me and about the presentation. The presentation will be in English because there are many participants out of 35 countries of the world looking at us, and the presentation will be in English. I will speak Russian, but the slides are in English. I work at Domino since 1998. I'm a developer, administrator, instructor. I am co-author of 3 IBM Red books in Domino topics, and I'm a speaker on Domino Notes user groups, and CYONE also, who is one of the organizers of this RNUG conference. And today my colleagues were talking about two-factor authentication. Therefore, please take a look at it. Of course, I want to recommend you to take a closer look at the presentation, because there is a possibility to roll up two-factor authentication of a Domino to be protected from hackers, because now on remote work, many hackers are working hard to hack us, and we need to protect our Domino structure. The topic of our today's Domino webinar webcast is devoted to monitoring, and we were speaking for many years about this, but now today we want to show you many things and open it up, and if there will be time, I hope will show you the live demonstration of the system. Now in monitoring, we have about 150 different metrics that are checked 24/7. There are many dashboards, and we are speaking why do we need it, what are the cost efficiencies, and why do we speak about this? Why do we speak about this? Let's start with this. Because these tools, such tools, are helping us to automatize Domino administration. And vendor is constantly issuing some articles and best practices and telling what is good and what is not so good. And administrator cannot physically trace everything what is published, because if you check something in 1 second after you check, somebody would corrupt it. And the next check will be done perhaps in 1 day or even in 7 days. And there can be also some cases when we check it once a month, we check it or through a month, then according to the Murphy law, something which worked before is now terminated, is not working on the next day. This can be also the case. And this solution allows for monitoring not only statistics and also business applications, which is also very important, because platform Domino is used not for administrators, but for business, for document turnover systems, and monitoring can be then tracing the state of documents, that bases are opened, and I will tell you about this in detail. We recently rolled out and issued 1 month or 1.5 months ago the version number 4 in CYONE 4. There are many conceptual betterments here. At first, the quantity of metrics is extended from 450 or 500 to 850 metrics. And this correspondingly has the added rules, and the rules allow you to check that everything is okay for us. We are checking same time, safety, e-connections. And what new do we have here in the CYONE 4.0? More metrics. LD sensor, we have this asynchronous LD sensor, which is a component that is a micronodes client that provides for monitoring. And this is now asynchronous. Correspondingly, it may check in parallel as many servers as possible, so more than ever, which allows for one monitoring server to close huge infrastructures in these terms in this department. And again, we have also upgraded some core system like new CentOS, new Zabbix, and new Grafana. This is made for your convenience to work better. We have a new web console, which provides for new registration. It is more intuitive and self-explaining. And when you roll out monitoring, you can get the result less than in 5 minutes, which means that we're registering hosts, we check all the necessary critical values, and then in 5 minutes, we can already find what's good, what's bad, and the system will tell you how to check it and how to correct it. What are the variants of monitoring and options to monitor Domino? The first one is the manually reactive approach, when the users are crying and they're registering tickets to the maintenance service. So it all goes to us. and we're solving this. But this is not the approach of 21st century. There is an administrator, and I've started to work as administrator in 1999, in 2000, when there was the version number 5, and starting from number 5, there was this monitoring. We may say that this is perhaps the grandfather or grandfather of monitoring. There is a DDM. DDM is a part of Domino. It is embedded, and we use it. Also, it's a very good one. But monitoring cannot be within the system which is monitored by the monitoring, because we understand when the server is off, it will not tell you that something is bad there. Therefore, monitoring should be external, out there, not on the system which is under monitoring. And our solution, a part of our solution that I was telling you about, our solution is the next generation monitoring. It provides not only for a possibility to say that there is a problem, it tells you how to forecast and automatically solve it. Speaking about DDM, this is a cool solution. It's a super one for number 7, for Domino version 7. We can monitor many things, but we can only monitor digital values, so numeric values, only numeric values. Everything, the text, you cannot monitor it, like asynchronization, desynchronization of DAOs cannot be solved very well. You can not so easily find it. And for us to understand and to check if we are okay, for example, just look, you are going on Monday, on Tuesday to work, you drink your morning coffee, and then you need to understand, you need to make something big, and you need to be clear about all servers that are working. What do we need to do to understand that everything is great? We need to be connected to each server and check all the stats. We need not only to take a closer look on the stats, we need to understand what do they mean. On one server, there are about 4,000 stats, and I would not prefer not to look with my eyes and to switch between 20 or 50 servers and to check everything manually or visually, for example, here. And along with the statistics, I will need to check a huge amount of bases, admin PR, if there are any queries, if the users are blocked, if there is an attack, if all the resources are accessible from web, if all the users can fill in their IDs in the ID vault. And there are many other databases that needs to be checked. And of course, we need to check the parameters of operation system, like swaps, like disk velocity. And the farther we go, the more there is the complexity grade. But there is a system that provides for automatization of this thing. Of course, there is Marvel client that collects the data and information about the clients. If all the clients begin to put their actions on hold, we will see it in Panagenda Marvel client basis. But in ideal case, we need to enter this base not when it's bad, but when the problem is aggregating, when the first signs of the problem are onset, and not when everybody is crying and nothing is working. There's also a basis which has a log of crashes from the server and many other things. And there can be a situation, as soon as we change something, it can lead to a crash of the client. And for us to debug it or to undo those changes, we need to understand what happens perhaps in another city. But users get used to their problems, unfortunately, and they are not telling about their problems. Therefore, centralized monitoring helps us to understand this and to counteract it. What Domino administrator should do on a daily basis? Well, yes, administrator is engaged in support of infrastructure, of course. He rolls out new versions, inputs new functionalities, helps to the programmers, solves some issues and problems that are on set, and administrator should work with servers. And of course, administrator needs to take part at meetings, so needs to have rest also. And the question is, when do we make this? It can be either we don't do it, we don't get a classification, like as a squirrel here, we are running and running rounds and supporting servers. And as I can say, per one server, to manually check if everything is good or bad, manually, if everything is running ideal, and ideal is not the case when you have many users, and this this is definitely not the case. Per one server, we need to invest from 30 to 60 minutes of our labor time. That means that if we have 16 servers, the whole day without Sunday and Saturday, without day off, without days to rest and holidays, we will just checking the journal and statistics. But I think this is not the way to work, and this is not how we want to work, and this is not a creative approach. I think this can be done by a bot, and bot can be this monitoring, because we can say to the monitoring what shall be done, and monitoring then can cry out and reach out us when we are necessary, when we are needed. So when our company helps clients in administration, and for someone we also provide outsource administration, for someone we give some consultancy services. And there was a case in my practice when we started to develop monitoring many years ago. We've had a vision, like a dream, that monitoring should tell us, like, look, this base, there is a problem, there should be a problem, and it should be like a predictive administration. We predict that very soon you will be forced to work with this because there is not enough place, there will be not enough place, the databases are corrupt and something else. But we try to predict it. Prediction. That means on the basis of prediction, we can make some corrective actions. We want to sleep at night, to get the rest at night, and we want to be not bothered at night, not bothered when we are at the computer, when we don't see it into the statistics. Monitoring system will make something and then notify us when something is not very well working. Again, what monitoring can do, but not during the working day, but 24/7. So this is everything which is colored by green. Everything can be made by server. Server can see that the servers are accessible, and server can automatically cope with the issues. Server can increase the qualification, because when we in monitoring show that something is not good, we're not only saying that there is a problem, we have a solution, like a slogan of the ex-owner of Domino, we have a solution. That means that yes, the functionality is not on, but we can make it on, we can make it run. Or you have a low cache efficiency because you need to revise this parameter or that parameter, for example. And this is unloading the administrators, because we have free time, and this free time can be then peacefully used. That means we can make upgrades, we can make clusterization, tunings, and something else for which business will thank us a lot. Because if we will act only as heroes and manually when we will synchronize DAOs, business will tell us every time, it's not so good that you have a desynchronization. But if we are making something new, something creative for the company, this will be our added value, which is important. And monitoring, of course, yes, in the last version, we have a monitoring 850 metrics that are checked from early morning to the evening. There are new dashboards. We have same time support right now, connections, traveler, it's extended, and I will show it also. And about architecture, very often when somebody is interested in monitoring, they ask and they say, we have already monitoring. It could be Zabbix in the most cases, because this is an open source solution. It is in the whole world represented, especially in Russia, in Japan. There are some countries where Zabbix is of utmost popularity. And in many clients, of course, it is. And from time to time, it can be the case that people are using just the other solution, any solution, from IBM, from HP, any solution again. And our solution can be integrated with the existing system of monitoring if it supports API of the request. And I will tell you about the API support. About architecture. Architecture can be as a virtual appliance, virtual server. It has a small nodes client that is written by my genius colleagues who are on the setup, who were on the setup and who wrote these nodes clients on the setup of nodes client. And this micro nodes clients, all the sensor on, can execute the Zabbix or other monitoring. Like go there, fetch this, go there and fetch this statistics or execute this or that. It is also augmented and added by the knowledge that is aggregated by our team by 20 or 22 years or more of work with Domino. And the great plus of the system is that it is not to be installed of additional software for Domino. Therefore, if you have an exotic system on some powers, on IPMI, on something else, we may do this. We can do this. That means in your framework, there will be just another client that speaks to the server according to 1352 port node, and it will just get and collect statistics. Stats are clear here. And if you have your own monitoring, you may just connect or use our code, use the API functions, REST app API, and give us stats from this or that server, and you will have centralized monitoring. I very like this one, how in the machines it's realized. Like, for example, I was just riding a car, and my car told me that the sprint will end in 20 kilometers. Please add some fuel. And this is the principle from cars taken that we try to use in monitoring. Like, for example, the monitoring will tell us very soon if you will not enhance your productivity, you will arrive at a crash. So in different cases, in different scenarios, they can be different grade of severity or critical state. That means there can be a warning or there can be something that is interfering with the work of server. Very soon server will fall, for example. And depending on this, we are talking to people and telling what shall be done. Developing monitoring, at the development, we tried to make it like this. It should provide you necessary information then when you need. So to your right, you see a Concorde, and this is just a Concorde, and for Concorde flight, you needed from 6 to 8 pilots, and there are so many graphs, so many data. And to the left, it is a dashboard of Tesla, and Tesla only gives you what is necessary in this moment. In the monitoring, we are trying to do this. We are lighting up the necessary things for you to know, to say to yourself, oh yeah, I see. This is putting on hold because somebody has too many transactions, and this is loading the disk very much. Therefore, I can brag about it. In 10 seconds, having a monitoring which is set, I can define, and the clients also can define in 10, 20, or 30, maximum 30 seconds, they can define where is the reason of a future halt. Because if we do this with our eyes and login SF and in journal, and the idea where to dig can take 20 minutes, and monitoring and sparing your time in a fantastic mode to localize the problem. And as we know, this is 80% of success.
And as we know, 80% of success is in the localization of the problem. So if we know what is happening, then we can address it. So reality today is that business wants projects to be done faster, cheaper, with a smaller number of people. Unfortunately, this is correct. So to implement all this, we'll have all just one solution, which is the automation. We can diagnose the problems, and the administrator is involved only when it is indeed necessary, when something needs to be reconfigured. Talking about predictive administration, I've already touched upon this. So we do it 24/7, and we can also automatically address the problems. I'll tell you how it's done when I move to the next slide. So let's imagine, well, this is my favorite example, DAOs out of sync. And it happened on Tuesday, 2 a.m. And we do know that if the system is resynchronized, then, well, we go directly to the databases. There is no replication system. The databases are becoming bigger. This is too much load for disks and everything slows down. So we go to work in the morning, and that's the way it would be happening if we didn't have any monitoring. So we schedule then Compact C for the weekend or for the next day. And additionally, we also plan DAO's resync next night, while the administrators do not do it during their working hours. Why? Because this is a resource-intensive operation activity. This is too much because it will slow down the process quite a lot, and that's how it's planned and why it's planned for the night time. And if you do it during the weekend, then it can take us from 1 day to 1 week if we planned it for the weekend to get rid of the problem. And well, we could have the slowdown during a day or 1 week. That happened if we didn't have any monitoring. So if we have it automatic, then, for example, the DAOs resynchronized, DAOs resync launched by the monitoring, and if there is a scenario how to address all this, we have this resync function, while at night there are not so many letters coming in. And when we come to the work the next day, well, the system tells us that there was an issue, but it was auto-solved. And so we say, well, that's well done, that's very cool. And I started, for example, not only talking to the Alice from Yandex at my home, but also I've started to talk to my software at work. I believe that this is the future for us. And so it took us just 1 minute to address the problem that we would be addressing in a manual mode for 1 week. And we didn't have any slowdown. Well, monitoring also includes recommendations, some consultancy, because we don't only say that there's something bad happening, but we also give recommendations. For example, we have some problem in here and we indicate how to address it. Well, this doesn't mean that we have 100% solutions for everything that is there in Domino, but at least you can set the direction. You'll see and understand that there is, for example, in this case, a cache, and this is very good for starting administrators. We have a client that has been using our solution, and he said that he's been studying the recommendations from us. He joined the company. Before that, he didn't administer any Domino. He just listened, participated in the introductory course, and then he read our recommendations, and that's how he learned about cache in Domino, how it influences the process, whether to add it or not, well, what caches are available at the client. So a person starts to enlarge the knowledge that he or she has. Because when we're just facing some problems and we don't see any recommendations, well, the knowledge transfer will be done in a slower mode. But if we have this kind of a system and recommendations, then it'll be very useful. For example, the base travelers and other difficult stuff. For example, something that we can see here, quite often we do the performance tuning for our clients, so we speed up their service. My personal record is the 9 times faster Domino server, for example. And one of the things that we take a look at are the lags in Domino, the freezing semaphores, when a couple of processes are fighting for the one resource. And so they're in conflict and they cannot get the resource. And Domino registers the freeze after 30 seconds. And we have to analyze what is happening. Those freezings are demonstrated as codes. You can see it on the screen right now. For example, 0244. It means that there is a database semaphore, something is about cryptography, something about indexes, etc. And so when we just hover over this and button, we see the results, we see the table, we see the codes, and that's how we can understand that we have some problem that is connected to encryption. And then we've just remembered that, for example, this server is not available from the external. Somebody switched on that server and forgotten to switch it off. So immediately we understand the source of our problem. As to the traveler, well, that is a separate topic. Quite often, we can face a situation when there is a new iPhone. Well, the new year is coming up to us, and I believe that a lot of us will get some presents and gifts for the new year. And as soon as there's a new iPhone appearing, we see the increase in the devices that are registered in Travelers. If we have this Traveler HTTP threads, well, we should have 20% more of them than the devices, the threads. For example, we checked it on Monday, and after that, we have an increase. How sometimes we can overlook it, and it will influence our users. They may have some problems with sending an important email, and then we'll have to spend a lot of time on investigation. We need to understand that we are lacking some threads. If we have a monitoring, then it tells you in advance that, well, you see, we have only 15% of reserves left, so could you plan, please, tells me the traveler, to increase the number of those threads. And what we added as well, we have different diagrams. For example, delay before device sync, we see that this yellow part is growing, and it means that we have some problems. If our yellow or red sector is growing, then it could mean that we should defragment the database. And so we tell about all of this when we introduce our monitoring. So we have this visual administration. If I see these graphs, then I understand that everything is working all right for me. But if something like this is appearing and I see the yellow, the red columns growing, well, for example, this device synchronized the system and it took it 1 minute, 2 minutes, or forever. Well, it means that I do have a problem and I don't want to check it every 5 minutes or every morning. No, I don't. I want to check this only when I have this problem. And if I faced this kind of situation, for example, I see that in here the yellow sector is growing together with this one, the right yellow one. Then I see that the synchronization of devices is slowed down. Why is it happening? Because the traveler database is opened by the traveler itself quite slowly. There could be some problems with the SQL or some other problems. Or could be that traveler is connecting to the mail server quite slowly. And that's how we can identify the reason of what is happening. So it will take us just a couple of seconds. Well, indeed, we need to learn how to interpret those graphs properly. But, well, we all learned to drive, for example, to do some other stuff. At first, it seemed to be very difficult, but after that, we just have an automatic mode, autopilot, when we learned how to do this. So that's how we can save our time and be more efficient. For example, talking about this one, when we need to do the defragmentation of the databases, the monitoring can recommend us all this. Well, another aspect, you remember this joke about Vasily Ivanovich and Peter? Well, it's quite hard to translate into English, but we will try. So these two people are on board of a plane, and one of them says, well, Peter, the dashboard, and he says 50, and he says, well, 50, what is about 50? Is it dashboard or is it the number of the devices or the values? I don't understand this. So the main idea is that we should have the understanding of the norm, right? What is okay for this kind of a dashboard of an airplane, or what kind of a temperature is normal for a human being. And so there are 4,000 statistics for Domino, these kinds of statistics. So we should have our limits, our thresholds. What is normal? Where should we be aware of something that is happening, and where we should be getting prepared for backups and shutting down of the system. So it's a multifaceted process. And those things that automate this process can recommend us how to manage our environments right now. And many of you have 20 or 50 servers, and there are some clients with thousands of servers. I'm not exaggerating right now. There are some clients with more than 1,000 servers. And the monitoring can also help us if somebody is scanning our servers. For example, somebody is getting prepared for an attack. For example, in April, the RBC, it's a Russian outlet, published an article that everybody has gone to the remote work, and a lot of companies had to open their resources to the external environments. That's how the environments became quite vulnerable. And due to the monitoring, we can understand that we are being scanned. Or sometimes there could be some reference to a resource that is not present on our server. So it all helps us to analyze the situation. The number of the errors should not be increasing, but the locked out users should be growing. And if it is growing, then there's a symptom of the brute force attacks. Well, for example, if we see that 1,000 users are not synchronized, well, we believe that we are facing some problem, and we can understand, troubleshoot this problem. For example, it could be a network problem, not a domino problem. And if we do understand it, then we can connect to our network provider, and it will allow us to localize this problem within just a couple of seconds. And it'll save us a lot of time. And we also integrate the monitoring with our messengers, for example, with the Telegram. Well, something has died, for example, some server is down, and then the colleagues are saying that, well, something has happened there. And so SMS is not that interesting, I believe. Just imagine like 5 people will get this SMS, and all of them or none of them will believe that either everybody has checked it or nobody has checked it. So the team is not synchronized. But if we have some groups in the messengers, then we can monitor the situation and we can understand what is going on and who is taking charge of that. And in messengers, you can also add some graphs, like you see in here. Well, we've seen the green line, everything was going quite well. And even if you are at home with your smartphone, with some kind of a device, we can monitor all this in our chat in messengers. Another important thing is the business bus monitoring, business apps monitoring. While we are few of those who can actually do it, we can monitor the speed of the opening of the database, we can monitor the statistics, and we can monitor different tasks, interfaces, our agents, whatever you like. And my colleague, Sergey Golubov, has written such a base, and it allows us and our big clients to use it and to monitor some large systems. Each of the systems can create its own statistics. Well, for example, you've got some import from Oracle, from whatever, another business process has been finalized. And then in this base that we are providing to our clients, we can create a short document. And this document in the domino tree will create some kind of a statistics, and the monitoring will just get it. So we create such kind of a statistics umbrella. We collect it from all the servers. And if there is any kind of a problem somewhere, we'll learn about it instantly. So we'll not be rushing between different servers. We should not be clicking on different servers and take a look. Well, we used to do it 20 years ago, but it's now the 21st century and we are proceeding quite differently. And you can also create some statistics with just one line of Lotus script. Well, Sergey, for example, has written a library. You can add it to your own solution, and with this one line, you can create such great statistics. What we have more, we have a formula wizard. We can build formulas. Jointly with colleagues, we audited a client, and we've seen that there are some users with ID files. Well, this is not secure. This is not correct. We understand that. We can get rid of this one time, but I'd like to address this problem just once to avoid it from recurring. And if it recurs still, then the system will tell me about it. So we create some simple rule. We have an NSF database, and it helps us to create our formulas quite conveniently. So I get the person view formula. Well, I need this person, but I would like to see only those users who have attachments. We can see it now in the screen. And the attachment name will be user ID. Because if a user added his or her own photo, I'm not interested in that. And then the monitoring will automatically check all this. And when somebody says something or does something in the wrong way, then the system will indicate it. For example, you have insecure passwords, you have some users with ID. We will understand all this and it'll save us a lot of time. We also have different dashboards on security, on Domino Core, on Traveler, same time connections, etc. For example, in here we see the number of users, 26, nothing is crashed. Oh, what's also quite interesting in here, I'm quite convinced that you've faced a situation when you go to work on Friday and you believe that, well, the weekend is coming, the day will be quite good and calm, and just out of nowhere, you face a situation, then everything is working quite differently. And you try to ask your colleagues, like, what has happened? And nothing has been changed by anybody, they say. But it turns out when the problem is already solved, it turns out that everybody has changed something. One person changed configuration, another one policy, the third one did something but didn't restart it, so it occurs everywhere. And the monitoring can scan all this. For example, if a new policy is created, then the monitoring can just indicate that a new policy has been created. And this line will be even bigger, so we'll have a peak. So here we see the number of users increasing, so we have a peak. And if something has been changed in the configuration documents, has been updated, well, at least there will be an information in the window that something that could cause the problem, something has been changed. As to the visualization and management, well, we see that here, for example, this is the number of mails that should be sent to the internet, and the same number of emails are waiting for the availability of DNS. And that's how we can understand that the DNS is not available, that this is not our problem, that's the problem of the network. So we can just compare these graphs, and it will take us 3 seconds to get the solution. I haven't opened a single log, so I should not be running between different servers. Well, we can be very smart here.
And for management, there is some plaques that we can use. We can put up a criteria, what's good, what's bad. We can say that Domino is accessible, base is there, and management is only looks on this part of monitoring, which means that monitoring is like Lego. We start from something, and then we build up on the start and after the start, and we are a huge fans, like my colleague Stanislav. He's an amateur writer for small microcontrollers. For example, monitoring is ordering water for the office. We have the weight there, and when there is no water, starting from the live thread, there was a live thread, please order water. And for us not to hang it like this, we've integrated this with automatic purchase of water. But this is just for a joke. But we can automatize and monitor really everything. Therefore, I think that there is a description, and we are going to the questions. If you have monitoring, you are unloading yourself, and you are really like having fun in your free time, and you have your free time. If there is no monitoring, there will be no enjoyment of free time from you, and there will be more problems, and users will not be satisfied. And here you can see I am really aware of everything. All the clients are monitored, and we are developing the monitoring. Therefore, with monitoring, you will just make some art, not craft on your work. And we're going to the Q&A section. Margarita, the floor is yours. Shall you have any questions? Yes, I have some questions. Vladislav, at first, thank you very much for this presentation. And the first question is, do our participants understand correctly that along with the instrument of stats collection, the product also includes knowledge beta database and comments? Why and what? Yes, out of the box, inset out of the box, you get right now 850 rules, and in the next weeks we will issue new version 4041, and there will be more, and I think that almost 900 rules are there that are in the set. And that's cool. Yes, and every rule has not only a description that this is a problem, there is a description of how to solve this problem. Yes, thank you. And one more question. How do you create statistics of server level? Stats of server level, I think you mean that there is a base that I was speaking about, and the question is about this slide. There is a small database, and in this base you may fill in the document manually, but this is made for testing. That means we are filling in only several fields: facility, like the data type, string, numeric, what shall be done, what to do with statistics, rewrite it or add it. Imagine you've created 5 new contracts and you say 5 add to the previous value. Like this numeric value has to be added. Or you may say or rewrite the old value. There are different nuances, but you can cope with the database in up to 20 minutes, not more. I think you can also cope with the basis for 5 minutes, and you create a document which has the call on for the low-level domino functions, and they create this great CYONE workshop monitoring, and I liked it, and we can try it. This is an on-prem solution, absolutely. There are no data transferred to any cloud, but the one thing that you will need in internet access is the fact that the system may check that there is something to download, like a refresh, and there is it closes to our site and takes a small text document. There is a new version. Thank you. Thank you for this. That's all from my side. And for the participants, I want to suggest to take a closer look at our program for today, and please choose the session that you will now